Do, 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 do. Okay, I am just doing some housekeeping. I just need to go live. I'm going to go live everywhere. Okay, come on. Okay, so I have my Instagram, and then I have my, come on. I'm looking at, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Um, why is YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook so slow, so slow? Oh, good. I can hear myself this time. The last time I did it, the last time I did it, I was muted for like a half an hour until somebody came on board and like, I can't hear you. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is not happening. So, okay. Good morning, good morning. My name is Miss Lynette. My name is Lynette. I am an abacus teacher, and I wanted to share with you how to read the abacus. The abacus is a counting tool. This is my counting tool, and thank you everybody for joining me. Here is my counting tool. This is what we're going to call my abacus. This abacus is a counting tool. I already said that. I've said it many, many times. All right. So what do we do with it? Well, what we can do is we can learn how to count with it. When we're counting, how do we know what's doing what? Well, the first thing is to understand that this is a frame. This frame holds the beads, and these are the beads that we're going to be using to count. This sliding tool, this blue sliding tool. This tells me um where my place value is. So, hi Ethan, how you doing? So, what's going to happen is this is my blue counting tool. This blue counting tool will let me know that this is my ones place. I'm going to start over here and then I'm going to start counting. I do 1, 2, 3, 4. So notice with my abacus, I have four beads, just like what we do on the die. On the die, we have four beads. On the abacus, we have four beads. I'm sorry. On the die, we have four dots. On the abacus, we have four dots, and then four beads. But notice that we have or that we could supertize. What does that mean? We can actually look at it and know that this is being counted, right? We know that this is four. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that all the beads are touching this beam. This beam, this horizontal bar, is what tells me what beads are being counted. So when we look, you'll notice I don't have any more beads for 5. So what do we do with 5? Well, 5 is this one on top. This bead will always have the value of 5. So yeah, I do YouTube live as well, and I do Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm pretty much as everywhere as I can be. Um, yeah, so that was the question. Let me see. There's my question. I didn't know you go live on YouTube too. Yes. Okay. So the top B will always have the top B will always be a value of 5 no matter what. So this is 5 and this is 5 and then these are all 5s. These are all 5s. Now the difference is depending on where my ones place is. So I have my ones and then here's my tens. So if I did 5, I have 5 and I have 5, but this is not necessarily 5. This is 50. So we have 5 and a 0. And then when we continue to count, we have 5 and then 6. Remember that all the beads on the bottom has a value of 1. So when we count, we have 6, we have 7, we have 8, and we have 9. Just checking to see that we have 9. And then what do we do about 10? Well, just like we write 10 on the abacus, we do 1, that's 1, and then 0. So we have 1 and then 0. And that's it. So that's how we count. So we're going to continue on. So we have 20, 30, and then 40. And then we have 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and then 55. And that's it. That's how we count on the abacus. This is a teacher's abacus, and the teacher's abacus can be upright because usually the teacher's abacus is on the wall, so then the teachers can like comment and stuff. Whereas on the student's abacus, we have a student's abacus, and the student's abacus, if you notice, cannot be really upright because all of these beads are on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to what am I going to do? Oh, that's what it is. So I'm going to lay it down flat. So if I lay it down flat, the idea is when you're looking at the abacus, we want to do it this way. And notice that the beads are, the top beads are, uh, the top beads on the horizontal bar is above, right? They're away from me. And then this is to me. So when I look, I have my top beads on, I have the top beads, which are the blue beads on top. And then I have the bottom beads, which is on the bottom. So when we count, it's the same way. We count, we start with 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I have there's an indicator. This indicator tells me where my ones place is. So with the ones place, I can go either here, or I can go here. So in this scenario, what I'm doing here is I'm going to start here. So this is my ones place. I have my column here. The reason why I'm here on the third column over is so then I can start counting. If I do anything on the other sides, it just depends on what the place value is. So if I go here, this can also be deemed as ones as well. It just depends on which one you want to do. So if I do my ones here, this is 4. We know this is 4, and then remember, just like on the teacher's abacus, we have 5. It works exactly the same. So we have 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and then 9. And then we have 10, just as we have to write. Just as we write 10 on the abacus, it's just as we write 10. We have ones, right? We have our tens and we have our ones. We have our tens and ones, so that's what it looks like. We have our tens and our ones. So that's a little bit about how to do the abacus. The other one is if your child is older and you wanted to, or maybe if the colors are too overstimulating, what we could do is we can change it to one of these abacus. And this abacus is 13 columns. So this one is a 7 column, and then this one's 13 columns. And notice it works exactly the same. But we have the abacus in the middle. I would do the abacus in the middle. I'd start counting in the middle, because then I can have all these numbers to be bigger than, or have all these numbers to be less than. So on this abacus, because it's smaller, I would usually start over here. On this abacus, because my abacus is bigger, I have a lot more numbers. I have a lot more columns to work, but it's exactly the same. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. We have 6, we have 7, we have 8, we have 9, and then there's 10. After 10, we have 11, 12, 13, and then 14, just like we have here. So those are the comparison. What would I do with my students and with my child? Well, depending on their ages. So if their ages are from, I would say, 3 years old to 6, I would like to use the colorful one. And then when they graduate, when you get into the bigger numbers, you can actually go into the more one colored one. So that's what we're doing here. So this is about the abacus, and yeah. So if we look, we would have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000, just as we write. So when we write, I was just getting this ready. So when we write, we have my pen. We have commas. So why do we have these dots? These dots are let's see. So Ethan says, I think there's a 7-column version or the brown one. I believe there's a lot of versions on a lot of the colors. There's more. There's many different versions of the abacus. So yes, I believe you're absolutely correct. And so when we're writing, notice we have our dots. These dots are also helping us to differentiate the different groups. So what does that mean? So if I did 3,482, notice that there's a comma here. This comma will let me know that I'm actually talking about the thousands column. So this comma does not take a place value. Just as this comma does not take a place value, these dots do not take a place value. It's just an indicator of what we're trying to do. So we do the answer, right? 2,843. So with that, having that in mind, we have that's why it helps us indicate what number it is, because it looks really difficult if we just had 3, 4, 8, 2. We would have to like really break it up. So that's why we do the commas, and that's why there's indicators. But it's nice to have it always, the indicators always there, just to keep track of what we're going to do. So that is about little bit about adding. Oh no, that's a little bit about learning how to read the numbers on the abacus. So again, I like the 7 columns one just because it's nice and small. And in, as the kids grow older, it's nice to be able to graduate them. And they're like, ooh, I got a big abacus, a bigger abacus. There are bigger ones. For this one, I mean, I think 17, 13 columns is sufficient enough, depending on how far along you want the children to take abacus up to. There are abacus competitions. I don't teach abacus competitions, but I do. If you do like it, it's there. I know that's international, so there's a lot of kids that are very quick with learning their with doing their multiplication, with their abacus skills. Abacus is the gateway to complex math. Yes, I truly believe. So, can you start the fourth row instead? So, on the 1, 2, 3, 4, if this is what I'm talking about in the middle, I would not, because I would forget that where I started. So, then because the indicators are helpful, the indicators are there to help. Let me I need to do that. The indicators are helpful because you know where the ones is. If I did it in the middle, like right here on the smaller column, on the smaller abacus, I would probably get more confused because I would know that this is 10. So the idea of having the dots is to help assist where you're going to start. So if you start digressing, if you start going outside of the different numbers, you might get confused because when the numbers get bigger, I would forget where I would be. Yeah. So yeah, you could start it, but I don't. Here, if this is what you're talking about, on the 13 columns, you have fourth column, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could start here. Why? Because there's a dot here, and this dot would help, if that makes sense. So yeah, you could start it on this one, but I would not start it on this one because there's no dot indicating. It doesn't matter which dot you use. So you could use this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. It just depends on how big your numbers are. And so we're just going to continue on counting. But for my classes, I do have classes, online class, and what we do is we talk about preschool stuff. This is for kids usually that don't know their numbers. So what I did was I have activities and how they relate to the numbers, and so we do tracing, and then we find the abacus and find the number. It's the same thing with using manipulatives like blocks. Um, but here we're using the abacus. So this book that I have is abacus driven. And so it's usually and I was gearing for children that are 3, 4, and 5, because those are the ages that they're starting to learn to count. So the first lesson is from 1 to 1. First lesson is 1, and then what we do is we go understanding lessons 0. I'm sorry, numbers from 0 to 4. Why? Because I wanted to focus on everything underneath the horizontal bar. So that's why we have 0 to 4. So we just keep going, and then the idea was to just reinforce the concept of the numbers, the items, and what the abacus looks like. So when we do that, it's just to be more fun. So I have it where it's interactive, and this is a maze. It doesn't matter where they go on the abacus. I'm sorry, on this maze, it doesn't matter where they go. It was just one of those things that I just wanted them to follow and find which abacus it goes into. And it doesn't matter which color. I wanted them to choose what color they wanted. And again, it does it, and we do it again with this one where we have the numbers, we have the words. So one thing was to go through and understanding the words and understanding, how to do matching. So this is matching, and the idea was to get them to draw straight lines. So again, there was the abacus, and then there's the quantity, and then there was the numbers themselves. So we rush the kids to really memorize and understand what the symbols are, but I think we need to take it one step further. We take it to one step slower and just make sure that they understand like the quantities, which is interesting because now in school we're really focusing children on understanding like the number lines and boxes and so forth. So it's interesting because we were pushing the kids to know what the numbers are, but then when we look at it, they're always like, okay, let's do the number line. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's like, great, that's great. But then it's interesting because, I mean, we could do it on the abacus as well. And this is more physical. 1, 2, 3, 4. Um, so then we have 5, right? And then it was interesting. One another interesting thing is was when I was doing another live, I had a tally mark, and it was like, how did that work? And I started thinking about it, and it was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. That's how we know that that's a 5, just as we cross it. But in the tally marks, we can break it up, but in abacus, we cannot. We can't break this 5. We can only add to it. So we have 5 and then 6. We have the 5 and then 6. We have 5 and then 6. So then after we do that, we start going into um, understanding the relationships. No, we don't. We go into understanding how to do from 5 to 9. So then again, it's still the activities on how to do the 5 to 9, and then reinforcing with more activities. So this one was specific, like only color in the correct numbers. So you look at the abacus, you look at the 4, and then you only color in 4. I didn't want the children to color in 5. So that was a little bit tricky. Sometimes they just did all of it, sometimes they don't. And then we were draw, and again it's the same thing where we count the animals, we figure out what the number is, and then we find the abacus. So this is a little overview of my book. This is available on Amazon. If you want a PDF copy, you can go to my website, and I do have it available as a PDF. If you do want to if you want to check it out, I also have a TPT store, teacherspayteachers.com, if you're looking for other worksheets. I also sell the worksheets on my website as well. So you can follow me, learningwithlynette.com, if you choose to. Oh, what if I can put a banner? Uh, there we go. Oh, those are my books. So here, that's my website. So there's my website. And then here we have our lessons. So this lesson is counting forward. Oh my gosh. This lesson is counting forward. So I give you the number, what is 0, and then they were supposed to count forward. So this is 0, and then what's after 0 is 1. And it's easy to see on the abacus, right? So when we count it, we do 1, right? We have 0. So that was the other thing that I noticed is in school, we teach the children how to count from 1. Whereas in abacus, we start from 0 because we want to be able to clear out, right? To have a clear abacus, and then we can start counting. So we have the counting forwards, and then after we count forwards, we have counting backwards. And again, I have activities to continue, right? To reinforce. So then we count backwards, and I noticed that counting backwards is a little difficult for children in school. Why? Because the idea of counting backwards is not common, but in abacus, it's very common because we have to learn how to subtract. Well, so when we have 1, 2, 3, 4, when we subtract, we're just taking away. Take away 1, take away 1, take away 1. So this is counting backwards. So we have 4, 3, 2, and then 1. And then after that, we have counting forwards, counting in between. So what comes in between? So if I give you the number here, this is 1, and then this is 3, then the idea was to figure out what is in between. Know that we can either take away the 1 or we can add 1, right? So that would be the answer is 2. Oh, the answer is 2. So that was the thing here, is to figure out what comes between. And then again, we have the children to write the number. And then we have what comes before, what comes after. So if I show you what the number is here, this is 4. What comes before 4 is 3. What comes after 4 is 5. And after that is which abacus is bigger, which abacus is smaller. And this is about quantity. So understanding how to do the quantity, and then this is greater than and then less than. These were just numbers. So, hello, abacus geniuses. Thank you for joining. I do see you. So then after we learn the relationship of After we learn the relationship of the numbers, right, then we start going into adding and subtracting. So the reason why I have adding and subtracting is just it's easy to do, because what we're doing is we're just adding, right? We add the one and then we add another one. So notice I have here plus one is a one thumb up. Now the reason why I have the add in, what is an add in? It's anything that adds, any number that adds. So here I have two. Well, I can't see my finger. So here I have two. So the second add-in, this add-in is what we're doing. So I want to add one. So on the abacus, I have two, and then I have one. If you have any questions, let me know. So then my answer is three. I have three. So my first add-in is three. And then my second add-in is one. So notice I'm adding the one. When I add the one, I want the children to see what the one bead looks like. One and one, right? So when we do it, we want to say one thumb up because we want to have muscle memory. So we have one thumb up. So that's what we're going to do. One. My one thumb up. Now the reason why we work on the add-ins and not the result. So that was the one thing that I noticed is that when I was doing research, there was a video that talked about how to add 5 and 3, and you get the answer is 8. So the question was 5 plus 3. Now we know as adults that 5 plus 3 is 8, right? Now that's not the problem. What I found that the issue is they were very focused on the answer. So they're very focused on this 8. I was like, oh, okay, this is 8. But then the next question was 7 plus 1. Oh, so on the abacus, this is what it would look like. So it'd be 5 and then plus 3. So if you add the 3, we have 8. Not a problem. Not a problem. So they're very focused on the 8. So now we have 7 plus 1. Again, we know what it looks like on the abacus. We have 7, and then we add the 1, and that gives me 8. Again, the video was like, okay, we got 8. So this is how you make 8s. And that's the problem that I find, because the next question that they did was 4 plus 4. Well, now we have an issue. What's the issue? Well, the issue is we don't have enough beads to add the 4. Notice that? We don't have enough beads to add the 4. So what do? Well, in school, in abacus, not in abacus, in mainstream math, in mainstream school, we're teaching the children how to make a 5. And this is what we actually do in abacus. We utilize this concept of making a 5. So here, if you notice, I have 4 and I take away 4. I'm sorry, 4, and then I add another 4. Well, notice in the video, they're very focused on the 8. The answer is 8. I was like, okay, wait, hold on. But in abacus, what we do is we focus on the add-in. We focus on the number. So what we're going to do, yes, thank you, Ethan. What we're going to do is we're going to isolate this variable. What variable are we isolating? We are going to isolate this 4 here. This 4 is the same thing as this 4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to substitute. Okay, that's too many words. That's too technical. But it's actually quite easy. So what happens is we're going to take this 1 and we're going to move it to this side. When I teach the children, I don't teach them this, right? I'm talking to adults. So when I'm talking to adults, I'm just going to isolate the variable. I'm going to move this plus 1 to the other side. So we're going to rewrite the question. We're going to rewrite the formula. When I rewrite it, it's 4 is equal to plus the 5 minus the 1. Now, there is an assumption that we're going to add the 5 here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to show the 5. We're going to make it obvious. So we have plus 4, right, is equal to plus 5 minus 1. Now, the reason why I write it like this is to remind us that we're going to add the 5 and we're going to take away the 1, right? So what's going to happen is now we are going to substitute this equation into the 4. So when we substitute this equation into this 4, we're going to add the 5 and then take away the 1. Did you see how that worked? So again, if I start with my question, let's see if I can do this better. So if I start with my question, 4, I have 4. I added 4 in the abacus. When I need to add another 4, I need to start utilizing this formula. And this formula is plus the 4 is equal to plus the 5 minus 1. Exactly, Ethan, exactly. So that's what it is. It's we are adding the 5 and then we take away the 1. So then my answer is 8. So why is this different? Because in abacus we talk about the process of we talk about the process. We try to figure out what the process. We don't focus on the result. When we focus on the result, we actually have to backtrack in other classes, right? In other classes like algebra, we start talking about the process. In abacus, we also talk about the process. So that was the one thing to understand, right? To understand that we don't focus in on the result. What we focus is the process. So we can take it one step further. So after the children understand how to do adding and subtracting, right? We go all the way to adding and we go all the way to subtracting. We add the 4, right? We go all the way adding the 4. So we have plus 3 plus 4 and again we have activities. And then after adding the 4, we take away the 4. That was the one thing that one of the parents was saying that in school, we teach the kids how to take away afterwards, like in the second part of kindergarten. But in abacus, we need to show right away because the formulas that we have needs to do minus signs, right? We need to take away. So when we learn how to add. We need to learn how to subtract. So as we subtract, we have to take away the 1, take away the 2, take away the 3. And then take away the 4. After we take away the 4, we have the plus 5. After we add the 5, right, we have plus 5, plus 6, plus 7. It's again, we're focusing only on the second add-in. We only focus on the second on the add-in itself because we want to talk about the process. So here is 1 and then plus 6. I have the top beat and the bottom beat and I bring it together and that is 6. So then we do 7, 8, and 9. And then after we do that, we have to take away. So we minus the 5, minus the 6, and minus the 7. So after they finish understanding how to do the simple stuff, right? After they understand how to do the simple stuff, then we go into how do you do is making a 5. So then we start talking about making 5s. So after we make a 5, we understand, and I just show how to do it the number line. So then the kids are understanding where the information comes from, right? Because in school, we actually show them how to do number lines. So I wanted to show the kids what the number line means. And then we also do bonds. And then after we do that, we also do the 5 frame. So this is the 5 frame, meaning that if we color in if we color in 4 cats, how many cats is not colored? So this 1 cat. So we know we're going to start seeing that there's a pattern. So as we start seeing that there's a pattern, every time there's a 4, there's a 1. Every time there's a 3, there's a 2. So this is what the number bonds look like. And I just show the number bonds to, again, show the relationship between 4 and 1. So the number bonds, just as we do with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with these blocks. With the blocks, we show the same thing. And that was the interesting part is that they are starting to bring in the manipulatives, how to do the 1, 1, and 4, right? Or 2 and 3, or 3 and 2, and 4 and 1. Whereas in abacus, we need to understand that, but we take it one step further. So here is the sample question over here. So we have a sample question. We have 4. We have 2. So if we add the 2, I'm going to be over here because it's just easier to see. So we have 2. Am I checking to see if there's any comments? There's no comments. Okay. So we have 2 and we want to add the 4. To add the 4, we need to plus the 5 minus the 1. But sometimes kids don't understand that. So what I did was okay, let's go to the 5 cats in the tree. If we go 5 cats in the tree, there's always going to be 5 cats in the tree. I don't know why. That's just the way it is. So we have 5 cats in the tree. We go to the tree, which is the 5 cats, right? But we grab 4 cats and 1 cat runs away. So 1 cat runs away. Notice I took away the 1. So I went to the cats in the tree. I grabbed 4 cats and then 1 cat runs away. So now my answer is 6. So that was the reason why I have the cats in the tree to show, right? I mean, you can use your fingers too. But again, we focus in on the second add-in. So then after we focus on the second add-in, we could do it again. So now instead of learning our doubles, in abacus we don't learn our doubles because, which is another thing, we learn if we learned our doubles, right? 4 plus 4, 4 plus 4, or no, 4 plus 4. Then there's the other strategy, doubles plus 1, and then doubles minus 1. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But what happens when we do takeaway? We don't do 4 minus 4 because that's a double. What happens when we do 4 minus 8? So this is where it comes critical for abacus, right? When we show you how to add the 4 is equal to plus the 5 minus 1, there's the opposite, which is minus 4 is equal to minus 5 plus 1. So the interesting part about it is that the doubles plus 1 only talks about it one way. There's no two ways, right? There's not a second one. There's not a inverse. There's not a reverse. There's not a, I would believe it's an inverse, right? There's not a minus double, right? Because I want to take away the 4. What do we do here? What kind of strategy happens to that? So it's a little bit kind of useless, I feel like now, because now with the abacus, we do plus the 4 is equal to plus the 5 minus 1. But notice we could do the same thing, but have different operators, which is minus the 4 equals minus the 5 plus the 1. So what does that look like? Well, on the abacus, we have 8, and now we need to take away the 4. When we take away the 4, notice there's not enough beads to take away the 4. What we're going to do is we're going to minus the 5, right? Just as we added the 5, we can minus the 5. So when we minus the 5, we're going to add the 1. And that's what we do on the abacus. So that's why it's critical for the abacus to understand how to do the process. So it's the process that we're worried about, not the result. And that was the interesting thing about it, right? Because they called it sentence siblings, sentence sisters. This is the inverse. This is the relationship. So this is the inverse. So you have a plus 4 is equal to plus 5 minus 1, and then you have the inverse. Minus 4 is equal to minus the 5 plus the 1. So here, these are the inverse. And you can do the same thing with the 3, right? So we have plus 3 is equal to plus 5 minus 2, or minus 2 is equal to minus 3 is equal to minus 5 plus the 2. They're inverse of each other. Same thing with this one, where we do plus 2 is equal to plus 5 minus 3, or minus 2 is equal to minus 5 plus the 3. And then again, the final one, and this is the last one that we have, is plus the 1 is equal to plus 5 minus 4, or minus 1 is equal to minus the 5 plus 4. I just called them reversed formulas. Yeah, they are reversed. But I think in proper math terms, it's called inverse. So they're actually inverse because it is a plus and a minus. So there would be inverse. Can you call them reverse formulas? No. No, I wouldn't call them reverse. I would call them inverse, because reverse means if I do plus 1 is equal to plus 4 minus 4, then the reverse is just minus 4 plus 5 is equal to plus 1. That's what reverse means. So in English, I wouldn't say that. I would say inverse, because we're talking about plus and minus. So that's what the difference would be. Abacus Geniuses, if you have any questions, let me know. And anybody who is watching me in replay, let me know if you have any questions, and I will answer. Someone, somehow. Wait, is this a specific lesson you're going over? Like this, like was this scheduled? Sorry. This is just anything abacus. And if there's no questions, then I'm going to continue on with my workbooks. So do I have this scheduled? Yes, this is my scheduled office hour. So if you have any questions about my classes or my online classes or my workbooks or anything about abacus, I'm available to answer questions. So, oh, sorry, I'm new. Hi, someone, somehow. Welcome. But yeah, is it scheduled? Yes. So every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I am here and I answer questions. And then there's the replay. And then if there's any questions on the replay, I go back and answer those as well. So let me know if you have any comments or questions. But I'm going to continue on. Is this a lesson? It's kind of a lesson. I mean, it's different, right? I mean, this is for adults. I mean, I'm not going to be. I have my classes for kids. So what I did was I actually have an online class. It's an on-demand class, and I have all the videos for all my worksheets. And these are the worksheets that I've created. And we go through and I just answer all these questions. And I have it, it's kind of fun. So here I have this where they go through, but this is for kids that are they're learning their numbers. So the question is, do I go live every Saturday and Sunday? I do go live every day on TikTok, but I don't go live every day on YouTube. I'm going to start scheduling in another day, um, but I'm not sure yet because it's just different on YouTube than it is on TikTok. So I'm on live on TikTok like several times a day if you have any questions, or you can go on YouTube and I'm live here once a week, Friday, once a week on Wednesdays. Any other questions? So, but yeah, like the main one for all the other social media. So, like, I'm live right now on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I believe I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not. I don't remember. LinkedIn, um, Instagram, oh, and YouTube, right? And I have other locations. So if you're in Monterey Park, if you're in California, I do have a school that you can come in and we could do it in person. Hey, Alyssa. Oh, what's another name? Here you go. Hi, Lynette. What is another name for five friends? Can you explain what isolating the variable is once again? Oh, yeah. So isolating the variable really is just taking the number that we're looking at. So what we want to do is this, right? So in school, all the kids are learning I'm sorry, let me do that again. 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. So their kids are learning how to do this, which is not a problem, right? And it's great. When your children is going into school, they will learn this. And so what we do is we actually take it one step further in abacus. The only thing that we're doing is we're trying to understand when we add the 4. So this is why we have the 5, right? So what does that mean? Well, just like we have how to make a 5. So the idea is, how do you make a 5? To make a 5, we have 4 and 1, which is fine. 2 and 3, and then 3 and 2, so forth. Okay. So now what we're going to do when we isolate the variable, that means I'm going to take this, right? I'm going to isolate it. So I want to be able to just have only the 4. So we only have the 4. That's what isolating the variable is. So what happens is I take the 1 and I move it to the other side. So I have plus 5 because we assume that there's a plus here. So it's plus 5 is equal to minus 1. So when we look at our question, we have 3 plus 4. The reason why we isolate the variable is this right here. This and this are the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute this formula into here. So when I have 3, I have, oh my gosh, I have 3, and then I want to add the 4. I cannot add the 4. My isolated variable is the 4. So when I isolate it, I'm going to substitute this formula. As I substitute plus the 5 minus the 1. Do I say this to the kids? No, don't. I wouldn't say it's kids. This is for adults. This is for adults and adults only. So what it would be plus the 5 and then take away the 1. So my answer is 7. Now, when I teach the kids, they just know the formula. I wouldn't talk about isolating the formula, isolating the variable. They'll learn isolating the variable when they get into algebra, right? So I wouldn't rush it, if that makes sense. Do I? Um, yeah. So when the kids are learning it, they're only going to learn plus the 4 is equal to plus 5 minus 1. That's the thing that they have to memorize, right? And again, it's plus 3 is equal to plus 5 minus 2. Plus 2 is equal to plus the 5 minus 3, and plus 1 is equal to plus 5 minus 4. This is what they have to memorize. Do I say isolate the variable? No, I don't say isolate the variable. So Ethan says, do I go live every day on Facebook? No, no, because I don't get the same reaction on Facebook. Facebook, not a lot of people see me, and so I go live on Facebook once a week, just like I go live on YouTube and on Instagram once a week. I'm thinking about doing twice a week. I'm just thinking about doing twice a week, but I'm not sure. I was focusing more on going live in TikTok. So, if anybody is interested in my classes, I do have on demand. You can sign up here. My books, I do have books available. If you want books, you can go to this link and it'll take you to my Amazon page. But let me know if you have any questions. Yeah. So Alyssa, did that answer your question about? I saw. I'm sorry. Here it is. I saw a teacher tail away the 1 first, then bring down the 5 in a problem. You just did. Does that order matter? Please do twice weekly, like Thursday. Uh, um, does it matter the order? No, it doesn't matter the order. The interesting thing about it is, like, when we do it at the same time, right? So the idea is to see that there's a pattern like that. So you could do the 5 and then 1, or you could do YouTube minus the 1 plus the 5. That part doesn't matter. I usually try to get them to do it at the same time, and I'm just playing around with my camera. So um, what I was going to do is, what are all my TikTok lives, I was actually going to start scheduling them out, because we have some conversations on TikTok, which is really quite interesting. But yeah, so I'm on TikTok, if you have more. But yeah, it doesn't matter what the order is for this part. It does matter when you start adding the tens and do the carryover. I think Alyssa meant to go twice every week, like Thursday. Yes, so it'd be Wednesday and Thursday. Um, it would depend. I mean, I do, the interesting thing is I do get traction on my replays. Like, there's like 20, 30 people that watch the replays, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I mean, I think if Thursday, maybe it'd be the same time. It'd be like Thursday in the morning. It wouldn't be Thursday afternoon or anything. But yeah, thank you, Ethan. So yeah, and then after they do their plus fives, it would be the same thing with their minus. So in teacher tail, that would be interesting. I watched the replays. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I watch my replays because I wanted to make sure it made sense. And so I also go through and I take my replays and I try to have it consistent. But I noticed, like, again, for the office hours, because there's only so much I could talk about, I just talk about but if you have specific questions like this, it's helpful to have a conversation about it. So, but then when, like, just before, Ethan was talking about making this a reverse, and I wouldn't do a reverse. I would call it an inverse. So the inverse to this would be minus the 4 is equal to minus 5 plus 1. And notice that there's a pattern, right? So when we look at it, we have 8 and we take away 4. When we take away 4, it's still the same thing. It is these two beads that we're doing it, right? So that was the thing. Like, understanding the number pattern. So as you understand the number pattern, it's there. If you and that's the interesting about it is as you go through, you'll start moving the beads, you'll see that there's more patterns. So here we have the plus 3, and again, if we do the inverse, it's minus the 3 is equal to minus the 5 plus the 2. So again, we talk about if we did 8, right? If we did 8 and then no, not 8, 7. If I did 7 minus 3. So 7 minus 3, it would still be minus the 5 and then plus the 2. So if you notice, I take these two beads. I don't do 1, 2, right? Because I remember the last question we had last week, right? You were asking why don't we count it 1, 2? It's because now when we do 2, I just want to move the two beads at the same time. That's why. So notice that there's a number pattern for that. So when I take away the 3, I'm going to minus the 5 and then plus the 2. Yeah. So, okay. So I think those are all the questions. Let me know if you have any more questions, but I'm going to continue on. I don't know if someone somehow has any question. Let me know if you have any questions, someone somehow. I'm not sure if you're still here. So, here, I was wondering if you could go through the story problem on the abacus. For example, you pick 5 sunflowers. You want 10 sunflowers to make a bouquet. How many sunflowers do you need? So the question is if I wanted, okay. So now the issue is you're starting to talk about making a 10. So when you say you pick 5 sunflowers, right, and you want to make a 10, this is another thing that the kids are learning. So that's where we did not sunflowers, but we did asteroids. We did asteroids. So when we do this, you have to know how to make a 10. So in this scenario, we know that 5 plus 5. So what's going to happen? Again, we're going to isolate the variable. The question is how do I make a 10? So if I have 5 and I want to plus the 5, that's the question, right? This is what we're trying to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the variable. We're going to take this. 5 is a little difficult because there's too many 5s. But if I'm going to continue on this thought process. So plus the 5 is equal to plus the 10 minus 5, right? So that's the thought process. This 5 is going to be here. We're going to substitute this into here, right? We're going to substitute it. So if I have my question 5 and I want to add another 5, there's not enough beads to add the 5. There's not enough beads to add the 5. So what do I need to do? I need to plus the 5. I need to minus the 5 and then plus the 10. Now, what does that mean? Well, I need to plus the 10. When I plus the 10, it only means I'm going to the next column over. So if I plus the 10, I'm only going to add the 1 bead. The 10 just means I'm going to go to the next column over. And then I have to take away the 5. So I'm going to minus the 5. So my answer is 10. Here is a I think would be a better question, right? So if I had 3, let's do this one, 3 plus 4. Okay, so let's do this one. Let's take it one more. So here, when I want to add so adding the 5 is different, right? So another one would be 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. So when we do 9 plus 1, my gosh, my camera. So we have 9 plus 1. Now, why are we going to do that? Again, we don't want to learn our doubles. We want to isolate the variable. So what are we going to do? We're going to utilize this 9. The reason why we're going to utilize the 9 because it's more versatile, so I can have more questions. And again, I'm going to take this one, I'm going to move it over here. When I rewrite this question, it will be plus the 9 is equal to plus the 10 minus 1. Is that all right? Can I use this question? So then when I look into the problem, one of the questions that we have is 4 plus 9. So when we do 4 plus 9, I add the 4. And notice I don't have any more beads to plus the 9. My gosh, my camera. I'm still having the same problem. I just want it to be like this. Yeah. All right. So we have our 9, right? We want to add our 9. We don't have enough beads to add the 9. So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the variable and substitute it. So we have 9 is equal to plus the 10 minus 1. Did that answer your question, Alyssa? So here I'm going to plus the 10 and I'm going to take away the 1. So I'm going to plus the 10 and then take away the 1. So the what? How many more sunflowers do you need? Is a word problem, and the kids would have to understand that. That's probably a mainstream math question that they would start to figure out what the number sentence is. So it'd be the same thing like how to make a 10. So I think it would be more like, okay, we have 5 plus 5 is equal to 10, and then 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. And then there's the reverse, 4 plus 6 is equal to 10. So then 7 plus 3 is equal to 10. And then the reverse of this is 3 plus 7 is equal to 10. Right? And then again, 8 plus 2 is equal to 10. And then the reverse is 2 plus 8 is equal to 10. And then finally, there's 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. And then the reverse, 1 plus 9 is equal to 10. But these are, they call it sister sentences. There's a lot of terminology. In Abacus, we don't have all these terminologies, but like these are considered number sentences. Okay, so what is it? Number sentences sometimes are called sister sentences. And I was talking to another person, sentence sisters, right? Because they're related. Um, Sometimes you think and then I started, well, what if they're brothers? So then there's like siblings, sentence siblings. So again, what are we doing here? If we isolate the variable, notice that they're related, right? So the 3 and the 7. So if I made this into a plus the 10, if I made this into a 10 into one of my 10 frames, it's called they call it big friends or they call it family. Like in my class, we call it family. So I'm going to isolate these variables. It would be plus 3 is equal to plus the 10 minus 7. Or this one is plus 7 is equal to plus 10 minus 3. So, I mean, as far as it goes, right? So it just depends on what you're trying to do. And you know what, Alyssa, let me know any of the math questions you have from school, and we can break it down and show it, and I can show you how we do it on the abacus. Um, yeah, it does. Okay, so it does. When you're adding on 2 digits and 2 digits, you always start from the, oh, finally. Good. So fantastic. You know what we do in abacus is not the ones place. So let's do adding. The reason why is because, okay, let me start with the 2 digits plus 2 digits, right? So we have 23 plus 27. Let's do that, right? So when we do abacus, we do 23, not a problem, right? But in abacus, we don't do the ones and the tens. That was one in my book. Oh yeah. So okay, so we don't do this. We don't do the ones and we don't do the tens. What we do is we do it as a whole. So in abacus, we do it as a whole. Now, the reason why I didn't talk about it earlier, right? Because we weren't there. But depending on like how often we talk about abacus, I mean, let me know. So what does that mean? So here I want to add 2, right? I want to add 2. I'm going to add 27. So I'm going to add the 2 and I'm going to add the 7. Notice I don't have enough beats to add the 7. So this is why understanding the making of the 5 and making of the 10 is critical. Why? Because now I want to do is I want to add the 7 is equal to plus the 10 minus 3. I want to add the 7. So I'm going to add the 7. I need to plus the 10 minus the 3. Plus the 10 minus the 3. Notice I cannot plus the 10. What's another way? Another way to plus the 10 would be, if you notice, is adding of the 5. So plus 1 is equal to plus the 5 minus 4. So now we got to combine the two. This is our two-step equation. Two-step equation is very common in algebra. So again, abacus is a gateway to complex math. So what we're going to do is we're going to plus the 5 minus the 4, and then don't forget to take away the 3. So then my answer is 50. So the reason why, okay, I'm going to continue on this thought process. The reason why we don't want to do the ones and the tens is because when we do abacus, we go with a bigger, we do more add-ins. So let me see. Let me see if I can, we do this one. So here, let me get you another question. So here's a question. We have, 23, 13, minus 13, and then 56, right? So this is very common to have multiple add-ins. Because we have multiple add-ins, yes, exactly, Ethan, it is 50. So that was in my book. Okay, so here, that was the answer, 50. So here's another example, right? 23 minus 13 plus 56. So it's common for abacus to have more than just two add-ins. That's why we don't do this, right? We don't do this. What I do is I use the abacus. Please lower the paper. Yes. So what I do is on the abacus, I'm going to add 23. So I add 20 and I add 20 and I had 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my abacus, I'm going to move it down a little bit so we could see what minus 13 is. And all I got to do is take away 1 and then take away 3, right? So we're doing it. And then I do it again. I take the number as a whole and I add 56. So I add 5 and then I add 6. So then my answer is 66. Does that make sense? So in school, it's just different. They do it by ones and then they do it again by the tens. But in abacus, we don't. Oh, you know why? You know why? Because because we actually do carrying on. If you notice when we did the 7, right? The 23 plus 7, let's do 17, right? This 7, we did plus the 7 is equal to plus the 10 minus 3. This concept of plus the 10 is like carrying on or regrouping. So that's the interesting part. So here I have, if you notice, we have 23 again, right? And then we have 17 plus 1 and then plus 7. Notice we do the plus 10. Plus 10 is like carrying on. They teach that in school. I don't know what grade they teach that. I'm going to do research to figure out when they teach that. But they teach about carrying on. So when you carry on, that's what this is. Plus the 10 minus the 3. So in abacus, we already teach you how to carry on. And then there's the borrowing, right? We do the opposite side. So what was the yeah. So if we did the other way, right? We did 15 take away, we did 16 minus 8. 16 minus 8. What do we do here? Minus the 8 is equal to minus the 10 plus the 2. Notice this minus the 10. That's when we do is we borrow, right? Ethan says, using the abacus actually helped me answer faster. Yes. So here, the concept of minus the 10 is like borrowing. So we have 16. So I'm going to have 16. And then what do? Is I take away the 8. So I minus the 8. Notice I borrow. So I'm showing the basis of borrowing. So I minus the 10 and then I add the 2. So we use all these concepts. Carrying on, right? That's in school. Carry on. The other one was borrowing, right? The other one was grouping and regrouping. Regrouping. So all of these terminologies we actually do in abacus, but we don't say it. So that was my quest, was to try to make it more mainstream. So like here is the plus 10, we're going to be borrowing, or else we will be regrouping. So it's really quite interesting. But yeah, and so when we start doing the multiples, what's the difference between what's the difference between burrowing and borrowing? Borrowing is when you take something. Burrowing is when you dig in. It is easy, but when both numbers are 2 digits, I get stumped. It is easy, but when both numbers are both 2 digits, I get stumped. Well, when that happens, then I would just break it up. I just do it one at a time. Right. So do you have a specific question other than the 23 and 27? Because the reason why 23 and 27 is a little difficult is because there's a there's a two-step equation here. So this is when it's two-step equation, we have to be really solid in our making of the 5 and making of the 10. So yeah, I mean, I can talk more about another question. I can give you another question. Let's do something over here. So I'm using my child's old notebook because they don't use all of the pages. So I'm just trying to use up all of my pages. So, um, okay. So I saw you write burrowing. No, it's the O. That's an O. That's supposed to be an O. Okay. So the question is, can you create where there's not a two-step? Yeah. Let me do one where it's not two-step. Here. So we have 30. Let me see if this one works. So we have 36 plus 51. Yeah, plus 12. Let's see if that works. So we have 36, 36. And then the next question is 51. No, that's all right. That's a simple one. Plus 50 plus 1. No, that's okay. That's a plus 1 and plus 2. That's what it is. This is simple. Let me find another one. So the answer is 99. So let me find another one. Let me find one with a 5. So that's I am to no. I'm trying to find the one thing is to, be more prepared to find numbers. Um, okay, here, we'll do a takeaway. We'll do a takeaway because we don't do a lot of takeaways. We will do minus. So I am going to find a clean piece of paper. Here's a somewhat clean. All right. The question was 56. 56 minus 23, and then minus 11, right? We're going to do, no, we don't need to do this one. We'll just do this one. So we do 56 minus 23. So here, oh, okay, here, even better. 50, 56 plus 19. So 56 plus 19. Okay, so 56 plus 19. We're going to add 50 and we're at 6. Not a problem. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add the 1, right? Because that's the 1 from this one over here, right? That's the tens of the 19. So we add the 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the 9. Notice there's not enough beats to add the 9. So what am I going to do? I'm going to plus the 9 is equal to plus the 10 minus 1. So now what do? I plus the 10. I carry over. Plus the 10. And then I take away the 1. And so then my answer is 75. So this one, if you notice, is only a plus 10 formula, making a 10. But again, it goes back into understanding what the 10 formula is, right? Then the other one, let's do another one, right? We could do 50. Okay, so let's do 54 plus 23, right? Same thing. This is plus. So we do 50 and then we do 4. And then we plus 20, not a problem, plus the 2, and then plus 3. When we add 3, because we're here, right? We're doing this one right here. When we plus the 3, there's not enough. What do? Plus the 3 is equal to plus 5 minus 2. So I plus the 5, and then I take away the 2. Yeah. Make sense? So this answer, right, was 75. This one is 60, 77. I don't put answers. I need to put answers. Okay. Does that make sense? So when we do it, we make it as a whole. We don't do the ones and the tens. And then when we go further on, we can talk about multiplication, division. Oh my gosh, it's already 10 o'clock. So I do appreciate everybody showing up. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Alyssa, if you have any more questions, let me know. I'm still contemplating when's my next time I'm going to go live, like live. I do have conversations and stuff. So and yeah. So if there's any more questions, I will see you in the next live. See you next week. Yeah, not a problem. You know what, Alyssa, let me know if you have more questions. We can go further into like adding 2 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits, right? 3 or 4 or 5 add-ins, and then we can do multiple times. So yeah. So let me know. Woo, Ethan, that's very late for you there in the Philippines. Okay. So, no, thank you, Alyssa. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if your son has any problems with the material. I'm seeing him going through, and so I'm actually putting up the plus tens, and I'm working on the minus tens right now. I still got to create my worksheets for the minus tens. So let me know if you have any more questions, and I will guys see you guys in the next live. See you next week. All right. Bye.